How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Ganji. Welcome to another episode of Chair Talk, guys. We got a few updates that I want to send. Your way, and plus have a little bit of a discussion with Russ, just to try to clear some air. One is the sheriff did put out a message. He said a statement. This is a statement from Sheriff Chris Nanos on the Nancy Guthrie investigation. So, to be clear, the Guthrie family, to include all siblings and spouses, has been cleared as possible suspects in this case. The family has been nothing but cooperative and gracious and are victims in this case. To suggest otherwise is not only wrong, it's cruel. The Guthrie family are victims, plain and simple. Please, I'm begging you, the media, to honor your profession and report with some sense of compassion and professionalism. So I think they're realizing that the media is adding a little bit of complexity here, a little bit of confusion. But Russ, I want to show you this quick video. This is the video that clears. It's from News Nation, but it mentions that the family has been cleared. That's a big thing, because there's all these rumors about the son-in-law, Annie, which is Savannah's sister. So this is good to get this out of the way. I wish it would have been done sooner, but this could mean, to be honest with you, that they may have somebody. I want you to know that. That could also mean that as well.
16 days into this investigation, the Pima County Sheriff this afternoon is officially clearing the Guthrie family of all suspicion. Very important development. We just got it a few minutes ago. Police hope DNA testing as well on gloves may deliver authorities, a name, date of birth, address on a possible suspect tied to Nancy's disappearance. At least that is the hope today. But on that news, our senior national correspondent, Brian Enton, is back reporting live from Tucson. So there you go. The sheriff clears the family, Brian.
Yeah, we just got this statement in, Connell, within just the last couple of minutes. So let me read you the full statement, because it's quite descriptive here. We haven't heard the sheriff go this far before on this topic, and we've asked him about it before. But this is from Sheriff Nanos, the Pima County Sheriff. He says, to be clear, the Guthrie family, to include all siblings and spouses, has been cleared as possible suspects in this case. The family has been nothing but cooperative and gracious and are victims in this case. To suggest otherwise is not only wrong, it is cruel. The Guthrie family are victims, plain and simple. Please, I am begging you, the media, to honor your profession and report with some sense of compassion and professionalism. So it doesn't appear he's leaving any wiggle room here, Connell, saying that they have been cleared as possible suspects, including all siblings and spouses. So it's a pretty big development, because, again, we've asked about this before at press conferences, and he sort of alluded to this, but then other times has said, look, no one's been cleared. Everybody's a person of interest at this point. But now he is going as far as to say that everyone in the family has been cleared. Connell?
All right, that's really interesting, and it adds, or it's in concert with the kind of DNA testing that we're still waiting on, right? The gloves and everything else?
It is, and you have to imagine that everybody probably in the family and in the inner circle at this point has been DNA swabbed, and I say that because, remember, they found DNA in Nancy's house, and they have said that it's not Nancy's and it's not anyone in the family or anyone in her inner circle, which would mean that they have everybody's DNA. So I think DNA is the big factor here that we're going to have to keep an eye on in the next 24 to 48 hours, because we've got the DNA from the glove that they're looking into. And then we've got all these swabs that are happening, not just with the family and friends, but you'd have to imagine these people that they've been questioning are also being swabbed. So that's how they're going to start cross-referencing here and try to figure out who they're going to remain interested in, Kyle.
All right, Brian, we'll be back to you live in Tucson.
Thank you for watching.
So, Russ, real quick, I think that's great news. I think for those that just jumped and put it towards the family, like a known reporter, Ashley Banfield. Sorry, Ashley, but the point is, I think that they should go back at this point, because you do have you do have the family being cleared. They should go back and admit error in that. Would you agree? I have a feeling they may know who it is, and that's why they can confidently clear the family. Would you agree?
No. I think that they have a direction. I think that they have a direction that points to someone. I do not believe that someone is as yet identified. I think that they have a clear direction with the DNA. I don't know for sure that they've obviously they haven't released this, whether they've matched what they have on one particular glove that bears a substantial similarity towards the one that's on the video.
It wasn't. The glove itself has been a match, but the DNA in it has not been reported as a match.
Right. It hasn't been, but one thing that would lead him to clear other members of the family would be if that match is actually accurate. So right now, I would imagine, what they're doing is they are trying desperately to get that match. Obviously, right now, it doesn't appear that it's in part of CODIS. So that tells me that this person has had little or no law enforcement contact. Otherwise, they would release a suspect's name at this time. But if the glove that they found matches, has DNA in it that matches something at the scene, that's enough directionality for them to make a statement like that.
Yeah, because now you got the combination of the DNA in the glove once they confirm it, and then the unknown DNA in the house.
Exactly. And so, but that's only a direction. So now what we have to look at is why is it only a direction? In this day and age, what they can do with the centimorgans in the DNA is they can match them up a lot if they have something to contrast it against. They may be only going with regards to geography at this point, because as we go south of the border there's fewer people that are enrolled in DNA things like Ancestry and what's the other one?
Genealogy.
24. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So if you look at those genealogy branches, they're not as well fleshed out as they generally are here in the United States and more developed countries. So at this point, I think that that's probably something that they're looking at. I think now they're just trying to, establish what they can do with regards to those genealogical trees. And they seem very rushed at this point. But now they have a direction, and I think that they're just going to go completely in that direction and try and identify someone through that DNA source. And hopefully we'll know in a few days whether or not indeed that glove was the match that allowed him to say this. And I also want to say something else. The media has been horrible. The people following this online that are, just spouting out things, they have been horrible. They've just been saying things without any grounds. Oh, the way that guy looks or something, and, trying to put it on members of the family without a single shred of evidence has just been horrible. I've been monitoring, some of the sites going on, and everyone is just, it's this guy in the family, it's this girl, and it's just been ridiculous. No one has bothered to actually examine the evidence and actually take a minute to think about what it is that we've seen so far. And certainly we're not privy to all that they've discovered, but we can make some pretty good guesses as to the direction that things are going and where we've been so far.
Yeah, and guys, Ashley Banfield, I think, mentioned it first by saying some unknown source, whatever it is. And I think if I was the family, I would go back to Ashley and say, hey, listen, maybe put a lawsuit, because that definitely was defamation of character during the most roughest time this family can be going through, and maybe either get her to reveal that unknown source. I'd like to see if there is a source on that to even begin with, because a lot of them will make up something and then lean it on a source that you have no idea who that source is, nor can you verify, or hold them responsible. Because I'll guarantee you, the way this took over on social media, I'll guarantee you, Tommaso and Annie, it would be best if they just stayed in the house. They couldn't really go outside, because everybody was passing judgment that they had did something to Nancy. So that makes it a risk. When the public starts connecting to Nancy in this way that's extremely emotional, anybody that's seen as a threat to Nancy could deal with some unwarranted aggression. So, you got Tommaso, the son-in-law, that could have gone out one morning, and all because social media went like wildfire because Ashley Banfield said something that could have put him at risk. That could have put Annie at risk. And it's just not responsible reporting, especially because you can literally say, I'm saying it's Tommaso based on an unrelated, on an unknown source. I didn't think that was fair. And to be honest with you, here's the sad thing. When the truth does come out eventually, people will still be stuck in their narrative. Now you have to defeat the obstacle that at the end of the day, Tommaso, in a lot of people's eyes, will still be seen as guilty. Because of the bias that has been sent in through confirmation, people doing their own research and only confirming the fact that Tommaso did it, as opposed to looking at things from a fair, objective perspective. So sadly, you can get someone literally, handcuffed, admitting that they did it, signed everything, and there'll still be people out there now that will say that it was Tommaso. And it's really because they have a trust for the person who reported it, and that to me is what's upsetting. Now he has to defeat that label, which is almost nearly impossible. One last thing before me and Russ do our back and forth is also Donald Trump has said if something did happen to Nancy in the course of, if this is a kidnapping, that he will seek the death penalty. Arizona also has the death penalty. So usually I think what you'll see is the feds and the state working together, if that's the case. And if it does become a state crime, it may just be federal at this point. But kidnapping could also be tried by the state as well, depending on, where the crime actually ended up. But with that said, they said, me and Russ talked about it in the other video we did, dual sovereignty. So they both have their own jurisdictions, federal and state, and they both could go ahead and put the charges up. But most of the time what you see is a working partnership. But in this case, it could be strictly federal, or if the state does pick up the murder charge, they would work with the feds to make sure that punishment is properly carried out. You would see a partnership in tandem, federal and state charges.
We've already seen that the feds right now have an appetite for coming into these cases and not backing down and being willing to push forward with the death penalty cases. Unlike the administration before it, which basically commuted everyone except for 3 people. And so I think that when you look at that, we could see, dual prosecutions at this point. And there's nothing that prohibits that. The Constitution of the United States allows for, trials in separate jurisdictions. I know a lot of people out there are going to, start shouting double jeopardy, but that is just not the case. The only time double jeopardy applies is when it's done within the confines of a single jurisdiction.
Yeah, and most of the time what I was researching is that they wind up working together anyway. So you're never going to have the feds and, well, not say never because you really don't know, but most of the time they'll be working in partnership. They're not going to, like, both of them are going to be doing the same charges. No, they'll decide which way they want to go. But as I said, in this case here, Donald Trump would push for, or the feds would push for the death penalty if this was a kidnapping. And unfortunately, she had gotten murdered in the process, or she died in the process. I want to show you something. It's going far back now. When this one. So when I hate this now. Hold on. Give me a second. Let me see something because I want to show you guys something. So what gets me, when they first mentioned the son-in-law, when it was mentioned by Ashley Banfield, I actually did something right after that. And I want to I want to play this real quick. This is literally the next day I wake up after she had released something on the son-in-law. And this is not my perspective on this hadn't changed since day one. It's this one. Watch this. I did this in my car the moment his name came up. Let me play it. My thoughts on the Nancy Guthrie case, especially in this moment as we're getting closer and closer to hopefully getting a resolution that brings her home. This is 2 weeks ago.
This is where we may start to feel the pressure of the situation right now, because again, if you were the kidnappers, you know your world's getting smaller and smaller, and obviously the media is putting it out there, so there really is going to be no surprise to the kidnappers of how close the feds or authority or law enforcement is getting if this is a kidnapping. So if there are multiple people, I could see some bit of confusion there. Some may have agreed to the kidnapping for quick money, but as pressure goes, and they may say, hey, listen, we don't want to be discovered with her. There could be people in that party saying, then we got to take her out. And there may be some in that party that may not agree with that. And now you can have some confusion. So this could work in our favor, the pressure, but it also could be a moment of desperation too, where they know they're coming in and, hey, we don't want to be found with her, so we need to get rid of her. It's just, it's like an impossible situation all around. That's why I think law enforcement's doing a great job right now, where they're getting their warrant or whatever they need from the courts ahead of time and going right in, because there really is no time. It's like, go right in. And that's why you even see the hostage rescue team in.
I mean, that's still a good video. That's not the right one. Let me do it from here, because when I do it through the computer, when I do it through the computer, it goes, it doesn't let me click on the one I want. Let me just show, it's this one, guys. Let me just show you something. I want to show you what I mentioned a while back. God, I can't win because then I can't tell which.
Hey guys, I want to give you an update of some
hold on. Let me see. Maybe it's this one.
Hey guys, I was looking.
Oh, it's Michael McKee. Try this one.
Hey guys, so I'm just.
Hold on.
Hey guys, I just want to give you an up.
A lot of hey guys.
Hey guys, just want to let you know.
Wait, bear with me, guys. Bear with me. Let me just put short son-in-law tear talk. Oh, you know what I could do? I could do it through my other thing. Hold on. I want to show you something. Right here. Here it goes.
Hey guys, so I'm just following up on some of my comments from the video we did yesterday on the Nancy Guthrie case. So everybody's talking about the brother-in-law, Thomas, the one who is married to Annie. That would be Savannah's sister. So that would make him the son-in-law of Nancy. And everybody's saying that he could be a suspect based on what someone had dropped from the media, saying that it's connected to the information comes from some law enforcement personnel. I mean, I can't say he is or he isn't, but I've been doing my research, and he's not showing up as a suspect at all. The law enforcement said the last person to see Nancy was Annie.
All right, that changed. That's older. We actually now we know that the last person to have seen Nancy was Tommaso. But mind you, when that came out, there was no information about Tommaso dropping her off. Ashley had said something that she had gotten from some unknown source, and at that point, she ran with that, and it took off like wildfire. And what I've learned here is, one, be careful what you say, and two, know your audience, because you got an audience that will just run with that. And now, as I said, the person, it's life altering when you do information like that, because I will guarantee you, if he was going out in the community, they would be just aggressive towards him, because as the love for Nancy grows, the aggression grows on the other side of anybody that's considered a threat to Nancy. Now, Russ. Last part, this is our debate. Okay, so obviously there's this recent video that came out. This was last night. It was done by this news entity. And
Tonight, the FBI confirming that they are testing new DNA evidence. Now, we have team coverage for you tonight. Our Casey Torres is in Tucson. But first, we want to bring in true crime correspondent Brianna Whitney, who's tracking the very latest updates in this case.
Yeah, and we want to couch this with that. We are being very careful with what we report, what we learn, making sure that we're doing this the right way. So we want our viewers to know that tonight as we continue to try to confirm more information that we've learned.
I wish more media would do that.
Behind the scenes as well. But here is what we know at this hour, confirmed by an inside source. Investigators believe that this was a burglary gone wrong. Now, we have interviewed multiple experts since this began who said they don't believe this was an intended kidnapping either. So we've heard that before. Also new tonight, DNA evidence from the...
I only need the beginning. I actually did a video with her breaking down an interview she did with Pima County. So I think right now we have the sheriff pulling back. But the reason why I think the sheriff is pulling back on burglary gone wrong is not because it's not possibility. It's because the way the news said it, they said it as an absolute, that this is what they consider. And that's not the case. They're considering things. They're leaning more towards a kidnapping, I guess, but they haven't eliminated the other thing. The news presented it as this is what the declaration is. And that was never agreed upon. They haven't just that means they would have to have eliminated everything else around it, and that wasn't the case. So I wanted to get that clear. So people are like, I guess it's no longer a burglary gone wrong. That's not what he's saying. It's just it hasn't been declared that, and they're still leaning as their main priority is still right now the kidnapping. The fact, I mean, obviously she's not inside her home. So Russ, I mean, is a burglary gone wrong so far-fetched? I mean, can you honestly say it's 100% not that?
I can't say it's 100%, but I want to look at several things. First of all, from some of the things that I've heard is they haven't passed around, a bunch of sheets with regards to anything that may have been ill-begotten gains of the crime that I know of. So we look at it that way. So if they were there to do a burglary and they ended up doing an accidental kidnapping, then it just wouldn't make sense that they wouldn't pay any attention to any of the other things that they may have found inside that house. That's why I think that she was the primary target. There's a couple of other things that lead me to this, though. When you look at the individual who came up and accosted her Nest camera there, what is it that you notice? Okay, so he has a bag on his back that appears to be, not stuffed full, but have, quite a few items in it. If you're going to go in there, you might take very few things, but you need some way to carry all of that booty out. So were they going to bring up a car to carry anything that they were able to get there out? I don't know. It doesn't seem like it to me. It seems to me like this thing was a kidnapping, but I believe it was a kidnapping gone wrong. Number one is she's not very ambulatory. All right. She can only walk, I believe they said, 40 yards at most, and then that would be it. The other part of the physicality of the thing is they are, we know that at some point something happened that made her bleed. What was that? Was it one of the kidnappers getting heavy-handed because she gave him some sass, or maybe she tried to fight back a little bit? These are the kind of things that just, make me continue to get back to. And I could be as guilty as the next person of confirmation bias. Make no mistake about that. I'm human. But when you look back at that, it just seems over and over again that this was something that they just kind of went in there. To me, it feels like, it just seemed really good at the time. These are the kind of great ideas that tweakers come up with all of the time. I believe that she died, and I believe that they panicked and left, and that's why the trail is completely cold, right? We have not seen evidence of one thing that happened beyond the night in question. Even when we get back to the DNA in the glove, what is it that we see? that was something that happened around that same exact time frame. So far, there's not one thing pointing anywhere else beyond that one night. That makes me think that it's temporally encapsulated and that was kind of the end of it. I don't know if that makes sense to people, but when you can't find something beyond the event itself, it means that something else happened. I believe that she died. I hate saying that. I mean, I really do. She's an old lady. I have much sympathy for that. But there's no evidence that any type of proof of life has been furnished or anything else. So what we have is we have an illegal entry of a building, which technically that's burglary, or at least it is in California and quite a few other states. All right, it's entering an abode with the intention of carrying out a felony. That's all a burglary really is. So some people might get caught up in the semantics, but I'm just telling you that's what it is in a lot of states. I haven't looked specifically at the Arizona statutes, but with that in mind, we have nothing, not a single trace of anything happening beyond that event. And so, having said that, no proof of life, no indication of ill-gotten gains from anything inside the house. The only thing, as far as we know, that's missing is her. Why didn't they take something so that they could say, oh, here's something that proves that we had her? They didn't even do that. These are the kind of brainstorms that happen inside the heads of methamphetamine addicts. And so I keep coming back to my original profile, and I think that that's where it's at. Now, could I be wrong? Of course. But you have to look at the totality of the circumstances that we know about. I wish we had some inside dope, but we're not gonna lie and just make things up for clicks. So I'm back where I started from originally in this.
And it's funny, if you had methamphetamine addicts, I wonder when they start to get off their high and they start to sober up, do they look at like, what the hell did we just do?
Yeah.
Like,
they do that. And then, what they do is they make more bad decisions.
Yeah.
And hey, they have to be on the run. What do you do when you have to be on the run? When you have to take a car and you have to drive somewhere else across the United States? Man, you bump it up again, you take a hit off that pipe, maybe you slam it, whatever else happens. And then that way you're good to go on the run. And so I think that they vacated the area. And I'll make a further prediction. And yes, this is speculation. Anyone can say nuh-uh if they want, but because we know that DNA was recovered at the scene, it's not 100% possibility that it is the actor in this case. But we can look at it and say, okay, if that matched the glove, then it definitely was the person who accosted the Nest doorbell. And from that, we can say, how come they don't have a suspect? How come this guy is not in CODIS? How come we don't have, them running these family trees? Not that they couldn't do it on the down low, but I think it would be difficult. And then when I look at that, I think, hey, this person is probably gone south across the border.
Yeah, and guys, I want to mention, going a little bit myself. They talked about the gloves. I broke down the TMZ video a little bit. Obviously he wants to stick to the ransom note because that puts him center in the story, because the ransom note seemed to come to him, and then he's telling people, hey, or telling the supposed person that knows the information, write to me first and I'll give it to the FBI. No, write directly to law enforcement. But as for the glove, it could make sense for the glove to be found 1.5 miles, 2 miles down the road, because when they first get in the vehicle, they're worried about Nancy, calming her down, keeping her quiet. And then eventually, once they do, out of frustration, just as a sign that, man, finally done with it, they could throw it out, which could take about 1 mile and change to calm her down, depending on how fast they're going. But I want to mention something, Russ. Wait, Russ, hold on.
Okay.
Yeah, hold on. I'm almost done. Hold on. I want to get my thoughts. So what I'm saying here is this, is the fact that instead of us looking at it at two separate things, which I think the media wants to prove their narrative, so they have like all these possibilities when one could just run into the other. Maybe it is a kidnapping, and to say that it could be. I'm not denying that, and to say that people, the theories were, well, yeah, someone who did a burglary wouldn't wear something like that. I disagree with that 100%. That's not 100% accurate. The backpack could be filled with something to restrain her with, because they could be looking for something specific. Maybe they know she has something in the house specifically, so they may not be looking for getting this grand bunch of stuff to rob, but rather they know there's something in the house that has value, and all they do is they want that. So they just bring enough to restrain her and grab whatever that one item would be. If it was a burglary, again, if it was a botched burglary. But my other thought could be is that it could have been a botched burglary that turned into a kidnapping. Why do we have to treat it as either one or the other when it could be both? It could be that they came in with something they were trying to target for. She became an obstacle, maybe saw them, whatever it was, and they panicked, because a lot of it after the fact could just be them acting on panic. And then the other thing TMZ mentioned, and then I saw Fox News, they said, well, most of the home invade or most of the burglaries happen during the day. And maybe, I get that. No one's home, less obstacles, but you also have a community that people could see you. So we can't automatically say that people don't do it in the middle of a dark night, because that's also possible. I know a lot of people where I live that they get robbed at overnight. They wake up and there's someone in their house rummaging through things. I mean, even the I had a case that just escaped me, but I had a case that escaped me, but there are obviously robberies that do happen at night, because one, the person could be sleeping, is vulnerable, and two, less likely for them to be seen by people in the neighborhood, as opposed to going on a Sunday morning. And that's another thing. Why at that moment? Like why did it have to be that night? I mean, there was a plan, but why did they plan for that night? But I just think, Russ, we could look at it. It's like either a kidnapping or a burglary, or it could be a burglary gone wrong that turned into a kidnapping. That's possible. Or it could be just a kidnapping. But then if it's just a kidnapping, because for a kidnapping to be charged, you actually don't need something that could benefit the captors. It's the fact that the person's leaving against their will, restrained. That's enough to usually work for a kidnapping charge. But with that said, that means that the communication that was sent, the communication that was sent to TMZ and other news outlets, and then later on to just the other news outlets, would that have been the communication?
I don't think that they've ever communicated. And I just say that based on none of those leads ever turned out. I think that because my own informed viewpoint on this has pointed towards it being a kidnapping all along, gone horribly wrong. I think that that there is nothing that leads away from the crime scene. There hasn't been a trail. There hasn't been, in my view, there hasn't been any contact from the actual kidnappers. There isn't any place that she was cited. There hasn't been anyone that wanted to come forward and get the reward money, other than somebody saying, "Oh yeah, once you pay me, then I'll tell you." It just looks to me like everyone, Nancy included, has disappeared from the scene, and so I just don't. I just think that it feels like what it was. It certainly did appear that he came ill prepared, but nonetheless prepared in his mind, for what was about to go down. And so, I just keep coming back to that. And I can't, we can construct some things, but I'm trying to go mostly on the things that we actually know. And so, I hope it's resolved soon for the family, and I hope it turns out that she's completely unharmed. But we already know that she was bleeding, and so I just think that this just sounds to me like one of those great ideas that methamphetamine addicts get, where it's just, oh yeah, we can do this, and we're really good at planning because we're sitting up tweaking right now. And I think that just became what it was.
And look at the Daily Mail. They put this picture out of Tommaso, and just in the picture it says Nancy Guthrie sheriff gives update on family members being considered as kidnapping suspects. So they kind of make it look like, oh, he's the target, and then you have to click on it for them to tell you Nancy Guthrie sheriff says her entire family, including son-in-law, have been ruled out as kidnapping suspects. They purposely single the son-in-law as to cause doubt. I just feel they
did that yesterday with the glove too. They said that the glove DNA was a match, and what they said in the body of the article was that the glove appeared to be a match for the one that was on the camera. So
say that part again, Russ. I lost you. Say that part again. That was my fault.
So I was just saying that they had reported yesterday that the glove that they found was a DNA match, and they never said anything else. And when you get to the body of the story, it says the glove was a match for the one that they saw. Well, yes, it's substantially similar. Beyond that, we really can't tell. But they were talking about the glove matching rather than the DNA, and that's two very different things. You can't convict someone or even know that you have an accurate lead with just a glove. That DNA has to be there, but they made it sound like in the headline that there was a match between the DNA on the glove and the DNA at the residence. And that was not the case. And we still don't know that to be the case, although at this time it's starting to seem likely.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned that because people mentioned that there was confusion related to that. I want to show you something.
Hey guys,
hold on.
It's Monday
no,
morning.
It's this one maybe?
Hey guys, so an interesting situation here in Arizona.
No. I want to show you something. Remember this.
Hey guys, thanks so much.
Come on. Remember this. Ashley Banfield works for News Nation, so does Brian Etten. And when they said that the family was cleared, maybe it's easier to do it this way, I sense a little bit of surprise on his face, like as if the narrative didn't go the way they wanted it to go. Let me show you something. I'm trying to figure out. All right, let me go to the shorts. I think it's the last one he did. Watch this. Watch his eyes. I mean, me and Russ, we look at every little bit. Every little bit matters. But watch his eyes. Russ, you watching this, Russ?
Yeah.
Hey guys.
Watch when they announce.
Hey guys, so there's a new statement from the sheriff essentially clearing the family of Savannah Guthrie.
So far, you saw the essentially eyebrows go wide.
Hey guys, so there's a new statement from the sheriff essentially clearing the family of Savannah Guthrie with the whole investigation. Let me read exactly what it says.
Did you see the eyebrows go wide
Hey
up?
guys.
Yeah.
As if it's a shock to him, because the eyebrows usually go up when you're in shock. So obviously, it doesn't shock me at all, but his eyebrows went up as if it was a shock because they have a narrative. They have a narrative with that. I really do. They were hoping for Ashley to be right, and then she gets the credit for breaking that story, but that didn't work out in their favor because, as I said, if you look at that, it's just eyebrows usually. I mean, unless he's trying to emphasize something, I think they wanted it to be with the family, and at that point they could just say, "Hey, I told you," when actually you just destroyed this person's life. I think we're good. I just wanted to get that out of the way, guys. Just wanted to mention stuff with the kidnap. I did a video already on the why it may not be a kidnapping, but I just want people to know they never said it wasn't. They were just against the fact that the news put it out as if that was an absolute. So again, the confusion comes from what the news is putting out there. And my case with Russ here, we had the back and forth, is that you really don't know what the motive is. That's the thing. And ultimately, we do know she's not there. So, I mean, you could easily say kidnapping or abduction. I don't think they're interchangeable, but, they could be used interchangeably. But in the legal sense, kidnapping is a bit different than abduction. Usually kidnapping has something that would profit the captor or the captors. But with that said, I still think it could have been something that wasn't planned. They panicked And at that point, they decided to, well, that's, I don't want to say, but that's where it becomes grim. But my thing, Russ, as I said before, is if the sheriff is leaning on the kidnapper, because he did say in one of his things that they at least had one communication. And I don't know if he's counting the 2 letters that came back or whatever, the letter, because there were 2 letters. What there was it 1 letter with 2 deadlines, or was it it was how many? I gotta look that up now.
Well, there was a follow up on one, but I believe that both of those were later said not to be.
Well, they never
kidnappers, but they would, obviously now is they are, they are off onto taking this thing down completely, in my opinion, with the DNA source, and I think that that's a good indication that there is a nexus between the glove and the crime scene.
So he just says he's not confirming it. He just says. In his quote, he says, is it for money? I mean, we had the one demand where they asked for money, but is it really for money or is it for revenge or something? So they never really confirmed the letter as if that was the person that really took her. And that refers to the ransom demands. Investigators have acknowledged a Bitcoin ransom note sent to the media about Nancy's release, plus related money for information demands that the FBI has said it is evaluating while already charging one man over an imposter person. But the thing is, Russ, they really haven't confirmed if that letter or that ransom thing, that Bitcoin thing, was actually sent from the person that could have Nancy. So my thing is this. I would think if it was sent out, we would know if that was the person that had Nancy, but we don't. So my thing is this. Then if they were to kidnap Nancy, then wouldn't we have some type of confirmed exchange by now? Confirmed exchange.
What you mean
law enforcement confirmed?
Well, not if the family did it on their own, and they're not telling the
no
FBI.
Family's cleared. Let's just stay with the narrative. The family's cleared. That's what law enforcement.
I know, but no. Listen, what I mean is the family certainly could have taken it upon themselves to act on one or more of these notes, or a separate one that came their way, not through the media, not through the FBI or anything like that, and acted upon it. But I think that they would keep that very hush hush if that happened.
Yeah, but they're making public appearances on it, though, Russ.
Well, yeah, they're making public. They're making appeals to the kidnapper, though.
No, so I'm saying, right. So then the only question is, are they appealing in the hope that it is a kidnapping, or are they appealing to someone directly that they believe could have kidnapped?
No, I think that it's a classic shotgun pattern. They're putting it out there that they're open to exchanging money for her known whereabouts. But,
yeah. So the last message from Savannah Guthrie is basically a hope message. Like, it's never too late to do the right thing. So I have a feeling, obviously Nancy's not in the house, so we know she's not there. We get that, right? But we don't know if she was actually, if the intent was to go in and take her and get some profit off it, or they only took her because they panicked.
Well, I have a hard time thinking that they would take her because they panicked, because how much does that slow you down?
Yeah, but they're worried about let's say they hurt her or they ID'd her or whatever it is. They didn't want to make the decision to do whatever they wanted to do in the house, so they took her out of the house in a more controlled environment. It's not far-fetched, Russ.
I'm not saying that it's far-fetched, but think about if you're having to get away and pack someone up and do all of that. These people are, in my opinion, more used to panicking and fleeing than thinking about, okay, well, we'll just deal with her later, and then having her, come out in her walker or having to drag her or whatever else is going on.
Yeah, but what about Russ? What about, like, let's say me and you went in, we had an agreement that we were just going to do a simple thing. I noticed something she had that I wanted, and me and you agreed to partner up on it. And we partner up on just the fact that we're going to commit a burglary of a chosen item, whatever that is, right? And then part of the plan is we'll do it late at night, whatever it is. If we have to restrain her, we have to restrain her. But let's say she ID'd him. Let's say she maybe even knew one of them and was able to ID him by name. Now me and you start having a discussion of what she can do. Now me, let's say I want to take her out because she knows exactly who I am. You only agreed to the burglary, didn't agree to the robbery. Burglary, but didn't agree to any murder or any type of assault. So now we can't agree with what we got to do. So now basically in that confusion, we take her with us.
Most anything is possible, but just the way these people operate,
Well, no, leave it out, but don't. So I get you're stuck to this one set of people. I get it. I know how I get that. But what about if it wasn't? What about if it literally is a planned burglary that went bad? She may have ID'd one or whatever it was, and they couldn't. If there's more than one person, they couldn't agree to what to do with her.
I just can't get past the whole
that they're meth users?
Criminal. Yeah, well, it's not just that. Is think about the people that are committing burglaries. Are there any of them that are really right in their mind, that are like focused and sharp and able to carry something out? And if it's two of them that are arguing about what to do, they weren't so sharp to begin with. There's problems in that relationship. I just don't see it. I just like to go with Occam's razor, and usually the simplest thing is the correct thing.
Right, but the simplest thing. See, but that's where it could be subjective, because at the end of the day, the kidnapping wouldn't have been the most simplest of things unless you know what they were kidnapping her for. We got some random Bitcoin that they haven't confirmed.
When they have a focused target and they decide that that's the thing they're going to do, then that's the thing that they're going to do.
Then how come the first thing most people thought of was either a burglary, or we also mentioned a sexual assault, which can happen in the middle of the night?
I know that all of those things can happen, but you don't in general see. So that would be like a real outlier event. It's not. It doesn't fit what the generality is.
Right, but you're saying if there, and this is just a question. You're saying if an outlier comes in, like the abduction side, right, that automatically changes the original motive, or could it just be continued?
No. What I'm saying is that usually when we see these kind of horrific murders with an elderly person where there's a sexual component to it, what you usually see is it's something that was kind of unplanned, or the person that does that kind of thing tends to fall lower on the scale, where they're less of an organized sociopath and they're more of an unorganized sociopath. And so they just don't tend to, okay, now we're gonna commit the kidnapping or any of these things. These people tend to not even view what they've done as wrong. And they tend to not even look at all of the counter forensics that the guy on the screen took. Hands completely covered, can't get pictures of the fingertips. He's covered head to toe. He's brought his kit with him. That's a lot more of an organized.
Yeah, but we don't know if he brought the kit with him. But let me ask you a question though. So he's also a little sloppy because he wasn't prepared for the camera. But too, you don't think burglars, you don't think people that burglarize homes, they don't want to be seen either?
I know that they don't want to be seen.
So why wouldn't they take the same measure of
Okay, hold on. Okay. But when we're talking about the type of sociopath, really more of a psychopath that would do something with regards to the sexual component, or that, like, those people are less organized. They're more likely to not really plan ahead. And this person obviously did plan ahead. I'm not saying he's a mastermind, I'm saying that he is organized, and he may be a psychopath, but he's not a disorganized psychopath.
So I would disagree about some parts of the organization. I believe that part of the organization is knowing that their targets are vulnerable. That's one part of the plan. Getting them when they're alone. So there is a lot of organization in what they do. And then what happens here, they just don't know how to recover when something happens that doesn't happen in what was planned, and they panic. And then the panic becomes unorganized because they didn't expect maybe this person to fight back, or they didn't expect this other person to be in the home, like in the Kohlberger situation. So I think they're very organized and they have a perfect plan, but they don't have a contingency. That's why some get away, and then most likely the people that survive get lucky. And Ted Bundy, thank God somebody was pulling up the driveway, shine some lights, and he got the hell out because they don't have a backup plan. They're all or nothing. But I'm saying in this case here with this person here, what's to say, or this team here, what's to say that they did have an original intent and they panicked, and what would have been a burglary could have became a kidnapping? I mean, that could also be highly possible, but
yeah, I just see it as fitting. I just see it as fitting the other way. I think that.
But you haven't given me a reason why they.
Because it's her.
No, Russ, but you can't. I get it, but you can't lean on that. So if everybody wants to say that,
but we can lean.
Burglary has no context, and the kidnapping has no context outside of.
We can lean on that just as much as we can lean on anything, though.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So then technically at this point, everything's at the table equally.
Well, I'm not saying that it's not. I'm just saying that the way that I think about the person who likely did this is targeted. You know, they went in there for a specific reason. There's nothing leading away from the crime scene at all. And I think that just, indicates something that went bad. It does seem like it was very specific. It does seem like it was very targeted. And so that's just the way that I view it. And
I mean, you know why it's viewed that way, Russ? Because Savannah is a known figure, and they equate her mother with that same level of notoriety. But what about if Savannah wasn't involved? What about if Nancy was just a normal woman? It would be the house that was targeted. It wouldn't be Nancy. It would be the house.
I know, but we have to look at it from a perspective of what counts and what's just noise. And I think that the on-air personality angle, I think it matters.
The person they detained didn't even know who Savannah Guthrie was. Carlos.
I know, but he's not the kidnapper either.
I know. I'm just saying. I mean, there is a good chance that we could be putting more into it by automatically, assuming because of Savannah's notoriety, Nancy had the same, and that's why she was targeted. When at the end of the day, it could have just been the house.
Yeah, but by the same token, it could have very well been the personality.
Well, so. I get it. I get it. But I just, at the end of the day, I think when people are looking at this, they have to understand that we don't know the reasoning behind it. And it could be just, I guess the main part of the dialogue could be this. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It could be a combination of factors that could have made the kidnapping a result of panic.
I sure hope we find out soon.
Because, I mean, if that case is, then one last question. If it was a straight up kidnapping, right, and there hasn't been an exchange of anything at this point, you would have to assume, sadly, that maybe she was taken from us. Because you had mentioned that to me when I was in the car, that maybe the kidnapping didn't go well and there is no proof of life. So it's kind of like, you know what, at this point we failed, she died, and move forward. But if it was like something gone wrong that later became a kidnapping, maybe they see the hope that the fact is that maybe she could be alive because there was never no plan to go beyond what the burglary is. I mean, do you feel that if, let's say it was a burglary and then a kidnapping because they went into panic because let's say something happened, do you think that the likelihood of her still being alive is more probable with that scenario or more probable with a straight up kidnapping that hasn't provided proof of life?
I think that no matter which way you look at it, man, I hate even saying this out loud. I think that no matter which way you look at it, it doesn't matter, because I believe that she's dead either way.
It matters for this one reason. I'm thinking of it now, but Russ, it may matter for this reason that's not been discussed before. If I kidnap and I want profit of her, because I've taken her life, whatever, I have her, right? I need to prove a connection. I need to be engaged, right? I need to get that proof of life to maintain my control, right? But if I kidnapped her out of panic, I don't want the connection to her. So I don't want to expose that connection. So if I did a burglary and it went wrong and I took her, I don't want to be connected to her at all. But if I kidnapped her and I wanted profit, then I'd want to showcase the proof of life. So maybe the reason why there hasn't been a follow-up is because the kidnap was never intended. It's not far off to think that way.
Or that she's dead.
No, I get it, but again, you know what? The fact is I get that she's dead, but they would have, if she is dead, I apologize, but that wouldn't have stopped them from asking for anything, because they would have thought that they weren't traceable anyway. So listen, if I did a kidnapping, whatever it is, obviously you can prepare for routes that you feel can't be traced. I think the Bitcoin is just people taking advantage of it, to be honest with you. I could be wrong, but maybe that's the case. Let's just say that's the case, right? So I'm preparing that I'm not going to get caught anyway. So all I got to do is show you proof I have her. And eventually, if I can't show she's alive, I have her body. We'll negotiate for the body. And the family would have negotiated for that, I believe. But what happens if it's a kidnapping only because we panicked and there was a burglary or a sex offense gone wrong, whatever it was? I'm not prepared for this back end, but I don't want her to be discovered. So I take her with me, figure out what to do with her later on. We don't know yet, but in the end, I don't plan on engaging, because I haven't prepared for that. So I'm not preparing on making any money. It's just a burglary gone wrong. I got to get rid of her. She's dispensable.
Well, I mean, that could be the case, but I just feel like she was targeted, and I feel like they would have. I think that they would have spent more time, going through the house, and there is no way. There is no way that they could have spread those hot sheets around with stuff that was missing from the house, and someone not talk about it.
Wait, what do you mean? What do you mean?
So certainly she had jewelry and all kinds of other things in there. So someone that's focused on a burglary and not focused on taking her, they're going to take that jewelry, and in the course of that, the family would have identified what that jewelry is and what was taken, and then the only way that helps them is if they find it at a secondary scene, or if they find it at some pawn shop. And so if they had spread hot sheets for the jewelry around the pawn shops, that information would have been leaked, and we would have been hearing about it.
So let me ask you a question. Right now, the sheriff has not confirmed that nothing was taken. Why not confirm that? If they could lean so much to the kidnapping, why not strengthen the argument by saying, I'm leaning on the kidnapping because nothing was taken? It said here, he's pushed back on the burglary gone wrong, but he has not clearly said on the record that nothing was taken. A law enforcement source quoted by Fox News says they have no indication that Nancy really kept anything valuable there.
Okay, but the reason that they don't want to say if anything is taken one way or the other is because then it gives fuel to all these people coming out of the woodwork and sending emails to TMZ. They don't want that happening.
No, I think if he's going to go out on the record and pretty much so, I think it's the interpretation from the news. Like, this news reporter messed up. I made it look like it was an absolute. Like, they never said, or they made it definitive that was a burglary gone wrong. And he came back and said, well, we never said that. And then he talked about the other options. But the main one right now is still the kidnapping, because obviously, no matter how you look at it, it's still a kidnapping because she's out of the house. So no matter how you look at it, it's still a kidnapping.
Right. But my point is that not one pawn shop bothered to drop a dime or accidentally leak a hot sheet.
Um, someone asked a great question here. That's a great question. They said, how come they don't, unless maybe she could have been knocked out. How come they said they talk about her pacemaker being disconnected? But what time did the monitor show that she went from sleep to a startled rhythm? If she got surprised. I think at the end of the day, it's easy to say that they have a kidnapping because she's not there, but they can't weed out anything else because they don't have the motive. They just don't have the reason why they were in that house to begin with. And I really do think that matters, because the kidnapping would be more organized and planned. At that point, the end result or whatever they wanted could have been planned. But if it was something by panic, you would sense something with human error and sloppiness. Like, here's the other thing. If those gloves match the person, the unidentified DNA in the house, right? As I said before, I could picture them getting frustrated in the car with her. She's upset. And then finally they calm down. They make their first mistake. Based on emotion, they throw the gloves out. Would an experienced kidnapper have done that?
No, but that kind of assumes that they threw them out. I can see them getting, a mile or whatever down the road and having to get out and readjust and make sure that she doesn't pop up when a cop car is going by or something like that. So it's easy. You put the glove in your pocket and you're, struggling around and rearranging her, and then you get back in the car and it's falling out of your pocket. There's a lot of ways to explain that.
No, that's a fair assessment. But either way, I think that the point is, I think the what we're trying to look at is was this a planned kidnapping, or can it still be a connection to something that wasn't planned? Like, I planned the burglary, but I didn't plan for her to wake up an idea. So I just want to make sure I put this out there, where we noted the family was cleared, the possible death penalty, and we noticed that they never said it wasn't a burglary gone wrong. They just said they're leaning towards these other things, and it's easy to lean towards the kidnapping because we know that happened. She's not there, but we don't know why they were in the house, and we don't know if really she was targeted, or if the house was just targeted, or an item in the house was targeted, which means someone had knowledge of what she was there. We're going with the assumption because of Savannah, but if this had been any other house, or if it wasn't involved with Savannah, would people be thinking the same? It could be anything, could have been a target there. It could have been something that they known was in the house. It could be anybody that had an idea of what was in that house, or I mean, I don't know how Nancy worked, but a lot of older people keep money in the house. They don't trust bank systems. I'm not going to put people out there, but it's true. And sometimes older people keep money in the house. Could she have been targeted because she was old? It's interesting, but it's tough to put at the table. I think we automatically think the kidnapping because of the Savannah. But if Savannah wasn't involved, would we look at other things? Would we look at maybe the house being targeted, maybe an item in the house being targeted? Or would we just go to the fact that Nancy, because when this was first released, it wasn't Nancy Guthrie, it was Savannah Guthrie's mother. So they made sure the context had Savannah Guthrie in that. Hey, Russ, anything you'd like to say in closing? This was a great dialogue, and I appreciate your perspective.
I just want to say that, my heart goes out to that entire family. I don't know how anyone deals with something like this. The number of unknowns are manifest, and, just thoughts and prayers. I hope that my profile and ideas, I hope that they're all totally wrong.
So someone had mentioned same thing, but his backpack was full, and I get it. He could have been looking for something specific. The only reason most likely it could be the route, but I don't want to close off other options. I like the fact that, we keep things broad, because once this came out about it couldn't be the burglary gone wrong as an absolute, everybody now stops looking at that route. It doesn't say to stop looking. It just says that it may not be, it may not be definitive.
The other thing that I haven't heard, they've had the SWAT vehicle and a bunch of SWAT guys going out there and being in the community and doing lots of the good work that those SWAT guys do. And it seems they're focused on leads, and the leads don't seem to be coming back to people who they think may have done similar robberies, in the area, at night in a house that's, not abandoned. And so I haven't heard of them rousting those particular individuals. So I come to the conclusion either first degree burglaries, aren't really a thing there, or at least not in that neighborhood, or it's not just something that they deal with. Because by now that they should have rousted all of what we would call the usual suspects. And it just does not seem as if that has been a thing.
Yeah, so I told people, because everybody's asking about the book bag, I said, I get it. First off, that's how you look at it. It could be full, it may not be full, but the problem is they could have been looking for one. I just don't want to eliminate it because we believe the person has one full backpack that all of a sudden it could have been a burglary. That could be one. If there's multiple people, then there could be multiple backpacks. If there's more than one person, maybe one person's job was to restrain and the other person's job was to collect. We don't know, but if you're doing burglary, whatever it is, I get it. You may want to go in and out, but if he brought restraining tools, what did the other people bring? So I want to say we don't know if there are others.
I would say what the other person was bringing is driving the car up from the bottom of the driveway.
Well, yeah, that's one thing.
Waiting for the hey, we're good, we're in.
I just think there's a lot more left to figure out before we narrow it down. I really do. I think today they were trying to use what the media said, twist it, and then make it as if it's an absolute burglary is counted out. It may not be, but the point is there's not enough to weed it out because there's still no confirmation at all from the sheriff that said it was absolutely not a burglary or a bad burglary or burglary gone bad, whatever it is. But as always, guys, the show is Tear Talk. Stay safe, and I'll see you soon.